Now, I look at the university here, and I have been struck by several things these last 14 years. Why are we so angry about our situation, about each other, and even about ourselves? Why are we not finding good in all things and saying that the less good doesn't need to be dwelt on because it's not going to change? Now, that may sound like pious, silly optimism. You don't get to be my age with my background by being overly optimistic. Now, one of my professional identities, the very first meditation we have to go through is to find God in all things. I just say, add another O. Find good in all things. Every situation I've ever been in since I was 12 years old, every public, critical situation has been one that has been marked by hostility. But I survived them. From desegregating a school system to having my life threatened on the street at 2 o'clock in the morning in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, I had to look at that and say, do I really feel like being a failure or the subject of a funeral? Nope. Better find a solution. And usually you find the solution in the other person. It takes an awful lot of energy and an awful lot of faith to see in someone who wants to be your worst enemy something that is good. If you got a chance, you find it, you focus it, and you make a bond with it. How does that translate, all that nice theory? And somebody said to me in one of the meetings yesterday, well, now you can preach all you want to, which I thought was an unfortunate statement. Because I thought it brought a light to an attitude that I didn't think was appropriate for the moment. And somebody else also told me to not answer questions at such a great length. I thought, good Lord, you don't know me at all, do you? But you will. And I said, no, I will answer the question as long as it takes. Because isn't that part of our problem? It's that shorthand culture from tweeting and sound bites and PowerPoint. Why don't we do what we're supposed to be trained to do and spend time with the questions, exhaust them, and come up with adequate answers? Don't be in such desperate haste to succeed, Thoreau said. And I think that we should all benefit from that injunction, because I've seen this university run in panic for as long as I've been here. And we haven't gotten any farther, any more stable, any more peaceful by reacting in panic over and over and over. So I suggest that no matter whose job I would be looking at, no matter who we are in this room, and we do all have responsibilities for defining this university, every single one of us. Whatever it takes to push back against the panic has got to be our first order of business. The second order of business is to presume the good and not the ill. Now, what are you going to do about the budget problems? Well, you know, I think that Lobby Day obviously isn't all that successful, because the budget problems are not my fault. And with the deficit that I have been told is in the provost's office, Well, I lived in New Orleans for 6 years, but I don't think I'm going to start doing voodoo again. And I'm being very, very serious. But I have always learned to live with the deficit. I've always learned to live with it. I don't like it, and it should not be the norm, and it should not be eternal. But I think there are an awful lot of possibilities, and they're all called students and staff on this campus. How do we turn that around? We need to start valuing and renewing and having a revival of the mission of teaching. There are so many great teachers, several of whom I would put on the list as some of the best ever are in this room right now. How do we take that to the next step? Doesn't have to be another either or dichotomy. Well, either you're a researcher or you are a teacher. No. As Dr. Griffin said about black male success, every single black professor she talked to all said the same thing. Teaching and mentoring are the same. And therefore, I say they need to be valued as if they are a priority, because the best teaching has the best chance of getting the best graduation rate. But mentoring is not. I have office hours on Tuesday from 4 to 6. When I was at the University of Virginia, the man in the office next to me had office hours every Tuesday morning from 9 to 9:30. I only saw him once in 6 years. He had a nice farm in Albemarle County where he raised horses. I got the master key and used that as my second office. Secretaries were quite, he didn't even know it. I just moved the overflow over there. We're not going to do that. We don't do that. Too many of us are committed to our mission statement. But we don't know how to take a deep breath and step off into faith. Or we used to. Now, I can say some very hard things. And I probably will when the question and answer period starts. But as I've said, at least in 3 situations so far in this interview process, I have extraordinarily high expectations. When other people had almost none that were positive of me, I balanced it out. I've never seen myself as an overachiever, but I managed to deliver. You put me in a situation that I'm unprepared for, I deliver. If I find myself in a situation that is rife with hostility, I come through it. So therefore, I expect that of other people. That's a family tradition. We look for excellence, and we'll talk a little bit about your failure, but we're certainly not going to applaud your success. That's the way I was raised. And that's how I like to raise my children. And that's how I'd like to hold my colleagues accountable. Someone asked me, what about shared governance? I don't come from a tradition of shared governance. It's called the Catholic Church. I'd like to know more about it, but let's be real. And even though we don't have a tradition of shared governance, I've managed to negotiate rather well. But then I think, I don't see 360 degrees of a circle. If I don't ask other people's opinion about almost everything, how am I going to navigate my path? Now, if we've all got to do something, and I see this every day, and not only on this campus, you can't imagine how many people in the city of Carbondale want to tell me how to live my life. Because I let them. Now, do I follow everything they tell me? No. But they know they have my permission to give me their opinion. And part of what we have to start doing on this campus, that again is an echo of Tom Mortensen, Ron Jackson, the Dean's candidate for College of Liberal Arts, and Dr. Rachel Griffin. The one thing we have to do is to actually look at people and recognize that they came here with experience, dreams, successes, and failures. But how often do we posit that our freshmen came here unlettered, untutored, unwashed, and unfastened? That one I'll give them. And therefore, we have to give them what they need. If our young people today got here, they have already navigated some things that some of us would never hope to see. How do we build on that? How do we ask them, where did you come from? That has always bothered me personally throughout my educational career.